In this week's episode of Spooky Action Radio, the Wookie and I will be speaking with Mr. Ghoul Shadows, King of the Vampire Court of Brisbane. The King will be shedding some light on local vampire culture, as well as sharing parts of his epic vampire journey with us. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be spooked right here on Spooky Action Radio. Wookie, are you finished making weird-ass noises and stuff?
I'm practicing my Yowie call.
Why haven't the Yowie guys gotten back to us, Wookie? What have we done? Did you offend them?
I think maybe I look too much like a Yowie.
That could be it.
I think so.
I think we should post some sort of side-by-side pics of you and a Yowie and let the listeners decide.
Apparently my brother's a Yowie. So.
Your brother?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say your mother's a Yowie.
No.
That wouldn't be very respectful at all.
That's very offensive.
You brought the whole Yowie thing up.
No, my brother's a Yowie. That's completely different.
Wookie, this is like probably a major deal for us, this interview tonight. I'm so excited.
I've been excited about this.
Tell the spooksters where we are. What are we doing?
Well, we are currently outside the Pancake Manor in Brisbane City. We are... it was a bit too noisy inside, so we decided to relocate outside. And we are here with King Ghoul Shadows.
King Ghoul Shadows.
That's right. He is the vampire, the king of the Vampire Court of Brisbane.
I didn't even know that existed until tonight. It's amazing, isn't it? What's going on that you have absolutely no idea of?
I knew something of it.
You always know something. It really annoys the shit out of me, Wookie. How you keep this stuff to yourself. You keep the best stuff to yourself.
Well, it's the looks you get,
Well, without any further disrespect to our king here, Mr. Ghoul Shadows, how are you? Welcome to Spooky Action Radio. Lovely to meet you tonight. We're so excited.
Thank you. It's amazing, and thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I'm enjoying the commentary so far.
Oh, really?
Great. Keep it up. I want to hear more about this Yowie.
Well, so do we. Any Yowie investigators out there? Jeez, just drop us a line,
First time you've heard about the Vampire Court in Brisbane is the first time I heard about a Yowie in Brisbane.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So tell us more. I'm really intrigued about the Vampire Court of Brisbane. I mean, look, growing up on a staple of, vampiric novels and I guess all like in the genre of Anne Rice and then, all the movies that go along with it, it's very hard to discern between fact and fiction, and the imagination starts to go wild, doesn't it, Wookie?
Oh yeah, so I think there's a lot of fiction out there, and that's why we're here tonight. We are going to delve into the reality of it.
Yeah.
We're going to remove the fiction of it, remove the fear, and give our listeners an idea of what's really going on out there.
Yeah.
And once again, Brisbane is right in the middle of it.
Brisbane is right where it's happening, spooksters. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shadows, tell us about your vampiric journey. You're saying before, when we were talking back in the manor, that it's taken you halfway around the world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I started my vampiric journey many years ago in a little further north than Brisbane, up in a small place called Cairns. And from that point, when I started to ask the questions, why am I not like these vampires that are in Hollywood? Why is it I have this need? I had all these questions that needed answers, and it led me halfway across the world to a little place called New Orleans in the French Quarter, and it's where I found a lot of answers to my questions.
Well, okay, I was just going to say, Wookie, what are some of the questions that you had initially?
I guess one is, am I crazy? Am I alone in this feeling? Are there others like me out there? And why, I guess? Why do I feel like this?
I think a big question that we've got to start off with is we've got to set the baseline. What is a vampire?
Okay, a vampire, a modern day vampire, I guess, is somebody from, in my opinion, that pays his taxes, goes to work, pays his bills or her bills, and then, has another need, has this desire to feed. And it's something that sets us apart from the regular Joe.
Okay. And so, of course, everybody's thinking the need to feed on...
There's many different ways. There's, I guess, as many different colors as there are in the rainbow. There's many different vampires. The more I deal with individuals who come forward to our Vampire Court of Brisbane, I find new and different ones every day. And I learn as much as they're learning about themselves.
Right.
And I hope to help them and give them the help that I never really had growing up.
Right.
And learning this, to take it seriously, to, not be like, some Twilight thing or whatever. But
so your skin doesn't glow like diamonds in the sun?
I'm sorry,
You're
that's
not one
a
of
no
those?
from me. It doesn't shine in the sunlight. But it's, and that's one of the myths that I'll debunk right now, is that we can go out into sunlight. There's no reason we can't. Sure, each individual is different. Some may have allergies to it. Others might actually find it a need for their feeding type, but it's all comes down to the individual, really.
Right. Okay. And what is like from a scientific perspective, the sunlight thing? Is it like an energetic thing? Is it an immune system thing, or? Again,
it depends on the vampire. If we're looking at scientific, that's something that my court likes, and we do. We go forward and we decide that, hey, we've got a question. Is there a way we can prove this or find out more about it? And we will try to come up with methods to understand ourselves better. And whether that be through the esoteric spiritual path or the scientific path, then we do it. We're not afraid of what we have to do to find answers.
Good. Because that's what we're about here. We're about finding answers.
Well, and in that vein too, Wookie, I guess is... really?
I didn't take long for the puns to start.
You were supposed to be on your best behaviour.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Man, geez, unbelievable. I'm just thinking in terms of, what happened to you at the very beginning with the start of your vampiric journey, and actually recognising in yourself that something was different. I know that we would have listeners out there right now that may be in a very similar predicament. What sort of things, what sort of telltale signs, things that they would sort of, I guess, give them a clue that this may be their identity or their calling or whatever you would like to call it?
I understand. I think it's a sense of loneliness. You want like a sense of travel to a far-off land. Yeah, to find others like you, to be around those who identify the same as you do, who, I guess, have this longing. It's hard to explain, but think of it as being ripped apart from someone you loved with all your heart and never finding that in any bed.
Right. I've never ever heard it expressed like that. It's very poetic, isn't it? Really.
I'm like
I'm very sentimental like that.
That sense of a longing. We actually there's a name for it, a very poetic name, and I've come across it, and it's basically the sense of being a stranger in your own land. Yeah, so a foreigner in your own country. Very true. You're born into that place. You grew up in that place, but you don't belong there, and everybody else around you senses that you don't belong there, but that just confuses them even more.
Now, wow, that's just sort of, it's just one of those things that really make you think. And the reason why it does is because that's everyone, really. Because I feel that way, and I'm sure you felt that way before. Yeah. What the king is
you're assuming that's everyone, but just because you feel that way doesn't mean that it's normal. We all make this assumption that just because it's happening to us means that it's mundane. And that's, an assumption that a lot of people in the king's position and in other positions of people that we've been interviewing come across. And that is that they come to this point in their life where they realize that what's happened to them, their lives are not normal. And that's where the king's identified where he's at. He realized this is not normal.
So tell me, I'm intrigued about this journey. All these journeys of self-discovery like that you read about, these inspirational journeys, they're fraught with obstacles and twists and turns and disappointments and sometimes some tragedy as well. Can you relate to any of that?
Very much so. I'm no stranger to tragedy, to disappointment, and to putting in the hard yards to get things done. I guess it's never been easy. I guess when I came out of the coffin, as it's known as.
Really?
Yes, I knew you'd love it.
Is that really what, yeah,
when one comes out of the coffin, which is a metaphor, by the way. We don't actually have coffins. I'd just like to make that very clear right now.
Okay,
I sleep in a very comfortable bed. And,
I'd like to say the same, but
I'm going to say you'd like to see my bed.
Well, hey.
Sorry. I'm sure there's a lady out there that'd have a problem with that. But it's a metaphor because of, all the movies and that sort of thing about, the coffin. It's not a thing. It's just like the old stake through the heart and chopping off the head. If you did that to anything, it will die. So, it's...
Ex-wives? Does it work on ex... No?
That's yet to be determined. They're kind of up there with lawyers.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, Kim. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But that's a good one.
It's I have experienced tragedy. When I came out in a small town, there was a lot of ridicule. I had my tires slashed. I had people scared or just pointing fingers, that sort of thing. Yeah. Not knowing, not understanding, because you're different. They think what they see in Hollywood is a vampire. No, it's the vampires in Hollywood are that way for ratings, to make money, and with real vampires, it's, we go to work, we want to be ourselves, we just want to go out and have fun, have a drink, no pun intended, but it's, and just be ourselves and be left alone. And we have our ways of doing things that are a bit different. But
speaking of differences, and out there in society and socializing as you do and as other people do, and the whole dating thing. And how is that different being a vampire?
Yes. I'll take it in two steps here. The first one is that if you have a relationship where the vampirism is known, it's a bit easier. It's both of you know what's going on, what's happening. There is open communication, which makes any relationship work. But then there's the other ones where, and I know this, people that have been in relationships for 10, 20, 30 years in some cases, even more, where one partner has their vampire side and the other one doesn't. And they don't know about it. They don't know about this vampire side of their other partner. It's kind of like this secret life. And
supposed to have the fear factor.
Yeah, there is the fear, the inbuilt fear. It can come from anything. It can come from just conditioning of the mind. It can come from religion. It can come from professional reasons. You don't want to, maybe they don't want to say this to their spouse or to their friends or their colleagues or anything like that, because they might hold a high position within a bank, for example. It may not be a good look for them. Then they prefer to keep it down. Again, it kind of comes back to with we don't like to talk about feeding much because it's kind of like, how do you like to have sex? It's
intimate,
very intimate, very personal. So it can be very very individual, need to know basis.
I see. Okay. So physiologically, how would, if a vampire was walking past you in the street, how would you recognize one?
It's not always easy. Within Australia, I've noticed a trend, and that is vampires here tend to hide a lot more than they say in, America. When I was in America, in New Orleans, it was like worn loud and proud. Everyone could see it. You could still tell, I guess, when you are a vampire, you sort of get this distinct aura or this feeling when you are near one. You can pick it up. You know that they're the real deal, and that they are who they say are, or they are who you perceive them to be. Even if they may not know, there may be something in them, like a shining light.
So, okay, amongst your culture, is it known where it came from? Is it genetic, hereditary, or is it something on an energetic level, or a combination of both?
I think, yes, a combination. I couldn't say for certain, but there's many discussions on this online about where we came from. Things that point to, I guess, biblical sources. Others that have a break in the chakra. Things like that. It comes down to we're on our search, on our quest to find answers.
Okay.
No one has all the answers. I don't have all the answers. No one out there really does. I guess that's where the problem lies, and why within my court in the House of Law, Australia, we have education as a big factor, because we have questions and we want answers. I can only provide so much, but the members within my court, which I will say now, I'm very proud of my court and every single member, those that hold office and those who don't. And I would not be in the position I am right now without their help. And they make me the person I am right now. And I hope to spearhead their questions to find the answers for them. And together we will, go, hey, that's what this means. One day we might find this little nugget of truth over here and this other piece over here, and sort of connect the dots,
that really excites me that like, as we were talking about, remember Cheryl Gottschall, she noted that as of the turn of the millennium, there was a great change in the attitudes of people, and it's allowing people to come out and explore these new things and understand them instead of fearing them and shying away from them. And I think that's something that's really great that we're heading for in the future now. It's
just a really amusing thing, Wookie, about doing these interviews, on scene in the middle of the city on a Sunday night, with all the Harleys and things revving up in the background. It's
Yeah, I think they're trying to steal the show.
They're trying to steal the show. They're not doing a really good job of it, though, are they?
No. Do you have any friends nearby that could take care of that?
I might.
So I notice when we were talking about physiology before, King, and we're looking at you now, and the whole fang thing. Can you explain the significance of that and how... What is it? And
yeah, definitely. I think it's, with the fangs, it's become something of a symbol within vampires. It's kind of like how you tell us apart. Like when we go out and we vamp it up, and we, it's kind of like wearing jewelry, wearing rings, that sort of thing. What I'm actually wearing right now are caps. They're made by my fangsmith, which is Maven Law. King Maven Law in the House of Law over in New Orleans. And there you go. Take him out.
Oh, wow.
There's one. See?
Okay.
Yeah. And what I've got, so the listeners can see here, what I've got here is just a little fang that's made to go over my teeth.
And they just snap on.
Like that.
Yeah.
And we have, within our communities, we have fang smiths. And that's their sole duty is to make fangs and sell them.
Are they expensive?
This set I have was about 200 American.
That's not too bad.
That's
Well, I'm not an expert in...
That's pretty good value for dental work, to be honest.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the last time I went to the dentist and how much it cost me.
When was the last time you ordered a set of fangs?
Well, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Well,
but
I guess
maybe I will now.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, I reckon.
But with these fangs, like, I'll make it clear now, fangs do not make the vampire. You do not have to have fangs to be a vampire. It's like you don't have to be in a court to be a vampire. You can be solitary with no teeth or anything like that and still be a vampire. It comes down to the individual. I just have this here because it helps, I guess, get in touch with the vampire side. It's like with wearing jewelry.
Yeah.
It makes you look pretty. It gives.
Could I say, does it help you manifest physically how you you identify yourself?
Yes, definitely. In some cases, and with a lot of other vampires, they like to wear them because it helps them get in touch with the vampire side. So it's definitely a thing that many of us enjoy.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
So just look, these are really, I guess, for me anyway, my curiosity and how that runs. I guess my curiosity is more along the lines of everyday life. What are the things that you guys like to do? What do you guys get together regularly?
Yeah.
What sort of things do you do? And then more mainstream stuff that you participate in as well?
Yeah. We like to get together, and I guess that's the big thing is coming together. It's like once you're with a group of other vampires, it's kind of like, well, what really would the damned have to say to the damned, to quote a movie, if you know the one. And we just hang out and talk about things we like our favorite games, our favorite movies, our, what we're doing for work. Occasionally what spiders we may have killed over the weekend, and just have a lot of fun. We might go for drinks. Sometimes we'll have educational nights where we're like, hey, let's do this thing and try to understand ourselves better. It might be a spiritual thing such as meditation.
Okay.
It could be a scientific thing where we decide, okay, we're going to take samples of something from each member and we're just going to test things, see what happens, try to understand ourselves better. And other times it might be, and we're planning this in the near future too, so if there's any listeners out there, we're going to have open house nights where anyone can come along, and it'll just be in a bar, and we'll just be like, hey, we're having an open house night here. Come along if you're interested.
Wow, that's a great opportunity. That is such a good opportunity for people.
I think we'd definitely like to whack that on our Facebook page when they do that.
Yeah,
definitely.
But just in terms of people that are out there that are thinking, this might be right for me. What a great opportunity it is to come in and speak to people and rub shoulders with people, like-minded people, and start to work out whether it's right for them.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like I was saying with Australian vampires, we're very hidden. And it comes a lot from our blokey type culture that we have here. And it's, anything that's slightly left of center that isn't quite perceived as normal gets ridiculed. So we tend to hide it. And I guess this is where we're coming into the point now where it's like, especially for myself personally, I've hidden long enough and I need to give back to my community, to my people. Show them that, hey, it's okay You know, you're not crazy. You're not alone. There are others like you out there, and they want to make you feel like you belong. That, you know, these things you're experiencing, like the loneliness, the depression, anything of the sort, it's not just some crazy Hollywood movie. There are real answers. It's, you know, and some of them we can answer, some of them we can try, and others we will find, hopefully.
King, just some examples of the sorts of questions that you guys have had to wrestle with previously, and some of the resolution to those questions. Have you got anything that you would be able to share with us? Like the vampire community, and you guys are big on education. What are some of the things that, you know, you've been asking yourselves and actually have got some answers for?
I guess the results have not come back in yet.
Oh, right.
But for a lot of that, we're still studying and we're still finding out. We're using ourselves as well as those people who are not vampires as controls, and testing each other and saying, okay, well, let's see. Like, we do like psychic tests, for example, that is one thing that is amongst vampires. Not all, but some show a display of psychic awareness, and testing that. And then other things with the scientific side might be, okay, what happens to our reflexes, our bodies? Like, is there a certain element running through our bodies? You know, it's just finding as much information as we can. It's very scientific in that regard, even with the spiritual side. And that's what I come from. I come from a varied background where, you know, I love alchemy, I love science, and I love, you know, the spiritual realm and that sort of thing. So I ask questions, and then I just get as much data as I can, as we can, and then we present it. And I present it before the court, and we try to make our decisions from there.
I always found that with science, the deeper you go, the more you learn, the harder it is to start differentiating between the science and the spiritual.
Oh yeah,
they start to sort of merge together. Yeah,
murky stuff.
Yeah,
especially when you go down physics.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So King, how many vampires would you estimate? I mean, obviously you have a number, a part of the House of Law in Brisbane. How many would you estimate that are here locally in Brisbane?
I can't give exact numbers, but I can say that we are growing.
Yes.
And that there is more than me, and there is, you know, there's enough of us out there to have a gathering. There's enough of us here to make you feel welcome. So if you are within Australia and you are looking, or you have questions, or you don't, and you're not sure in yourself if you are a vampire or not, if you have come out of the coffin, or if you're still in it, you know, send us a message to the Vampire Court of Brisbane page, and we can help you, whether you are, you know, in Sydney or Perth, or even Darwin or Tasmania. We will help you.
Okay. Look, I think a lot of people, like one of the big things that people are going to be thinking is that Hollywood's created this vision of a vampire, this monster of the night who can take over your mind and make you do terrible things and become a victim. Does the average person have anything to fear from a vampire?
No, we're just like everyone else. Anybody can rise to the heights of greatness or the lows of depravity, and, you know, just be as good or as bad as they can be. It's down to the individual.
Have you come across some bad eggs though in your travels?
Yeah, there's always the bad eggs. Yeah, there's always drama in the vampire community.
I see.
And how have you dealt with that? Is it something that you would deal with as a community, or is it something that how is that taken care of, or how is that moderated?
Within ourselves, we try to keep the drama at bay. So we have certain checkpoints for people. You know, if you come in, we ask you some questions. We just check your basically that you are who you say you are. You're not a troublemaker, and it's just very simple stuff. We have a very fun and lively community that's growing, and we'd like to keep it that way. It's a good community.
Okay.
But now within, like, I guess on the world stage, that would become online, and that's a whole nother ball game.
Oh, right. And do you have any sort of prejudice, or, you know, in terms of like online bullying, all that sort of thing? You guys have set up your social media platforms and your online presence. Have you had experienced any adversity online? And how do you deal with that?
There's always going to be online bullying, or bullying in nature somewhere, unfortunately. There's always going to be people that have different opinions, or the feeling that, you know, they're superior than others. And it just comes down to, like, do you want to put the energy into that? Not really. I got better things to do.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, go to work, or, you know, chat to someone else, or that's actually deserves my time. Like, you know, if there was a bully here right now, and I'm talking with you, I think I'd rather talk with you than the bully.
Yeah, that's right. If you end up wasting 10 minutes of your time tolerating some idiot, then you're responsible for 8 minutes of that time.
Well, they're taking up free rent in your brain, aren't they?
Exactly.
Who's going to give them that?
Yeah.
More often than not, I just do a Peter Steele face palm and leave it at that.
So, King, have you got any messages? I mean, this is one of the first interviews that your house has given.
Yes.
And Spooky Action is, as a podcast and radio program's just in its infancy, and we're getting our messages out there. So we're pretty much in the same boat.
Excellent.
So, what sort of messages would you like to share from your house to the greater Brisbane population? Is there anything specifically that you'd like to get out there that we'd be happy to share with the broader community for you?
I think if you do feel alone, and you do feel ostracized, and you have questions about vampires or vampirism within yourself especially, then do drop us a line at the Vampire Court of Brisbane on Facebook, and we will gladly talk to you. If you want to join, whether it be the actual Vampire Court of Brisbane, or you're within Australia and you're like, hey, I'm in Adelaide, or I'm in like somewhere else, like Melbourne, you know, and I just want to reach out to people, then talk to us and we will see what we can do for you.
What sorts of things would people notice about themselves that might be an indicator that this might be something for them? What sorts of things would they be like?
We talked about the loneliness and the isolation before, but does anything manifest physically for them, and at a particular age or anything like that?
Yeah, see, the awakening process is interesting. It generally happens early. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen later in life, but more often than not, it will happen early. There'll be certain things that they'll notice that, I can feel energy differently. Like, I can feel the vibe of a room. You know, I'll walk into it and I can feel everyone's thoughts, or I can just, I can't sleep at night, or I need to do certain things to generate energy, you know, and to make me do things. It is varied, so I don't want to like pigeonhole this,
Okay.
you know, but I guess as soon as the questions start, that's usually an indicator, you know, because if you're a vampire and you're asking questions and wondering if you're a vampire or not,
It's a good indicator.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah, I guess so.
Am I a vampire? Well, yeah.
So the nocturnal thing is a real can be a real thing.
It can be a real thing. Again, it's not a be all and end all, but it tends to be a definite thing. We all tend to be, night owls or something like that. But many of us do hold down day jobs and that sort of thing.
Although the graveyard shift would probably be more appropriate.
Some of us would love it.
Yeah.
It's a different leaning on the graveyard shift. It'd be like our day shifts would be
Day
there.
shift, yeah.
And is there a difference in your energy levels, like a real perceivable difference in your energy levels during the day as opposed to at night?
Definitely. I think at night time we find it clearer for us.
In what way? You talk about sensory stuff? Or?
Yeah, well, most of the world tends to go to sleep, and then we're left awake to do whatever we want to do. And many of us are artists.
Are you an artist?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I'm actually a horror writer.
Oh,
I write horror stories.
Wow.
Yep, that's correct.
That would be really cool. And if we wanted to read any of your stuff, here we go. Here's something I preferred earlier.
Well, indeed. There you go.
Oh,
one
lovely.
for you. One for you.
That was actually...
Yeah, there you go. Have one as well.
Wow.
There's a security guard. I'll give them us one.
Oh, it's all right. I've already sorted that out.
Tales of the Twisted. That
Yes.
sounds right up my alley, actually.
It is.
You are pretty twisted.
Yeah,
Sydney.
it's very 18 plus, no holds barred
Wow.
horror. It's
So if you're listening right now and you're under 18, you need to turn the computer off now.
No, you don't. You need to sort your shit out and get onto this stuff.
I'll go and find it.
We go to King
Tales
Shadows
of
has
the
got his Tales of the
Twisted.
Twisted here, and there's so many. Like, it's funny that people are just questioning what it is to be normal and these constraints of normality. I don't think there's any traditional normal people left. Everyone's got their own.
The only thing that's
Their own
normal is
thing.
a setting on a washing machine, Sifu. Sifu doesn't do his own washing, obviously.
I don't. I was going to say I've got people for that, but then I don't want to.
Oh, man.
Let me get into trouble already. But this sounds absolutely amazing. So artists, all right. And do you do this? Obviously, you have a day job, and you'll be doing this sort of stuff at night.
Yeah.
Is there any particularly compelling aspect of the horror genre that really speaks to you or draws to you?
I guess when I'm writing, I find the emotional side, the things that make people sit up at night and think and go, man, like, if this happened, that would be so bad. Like, I have some stories which make you question that bump or that knock, or how when the house creaks, those sort of things. And then other ones which are like, I guess they go a bit more taboo sort of subjects, such as, sexuality. Our Vampire Court of Brisbane is very open to all sexualities, no matter what you identify as, and all races and creeds and religions and whatever. But within...
You might even let a Wookiee in.
Maybe.
A real life Wookiee?
A real life Wookiee. or a Yowie, or Wookiee Yowie.
It's funny.
Hybrid.
Once you cross out of that mundane world, suddenly the whole concept of people's sexuality being a bit skew doesn't really have much meaning anymore.
That's
not
right. Yeah.
And nor should it really.
No, it shouldn't. No. But once you start to look at things outside of the mundane world, it's just not important anymore.
That's right. That's right. We accept all walks and forms of life. And it doesn't matter.
Except werewolves.
No. It's that's actually interesting you say that.
They don't like to be called werewolves, do they? They're like it's just wolves.
I could have offended somebody.
Yeah.
I think so, Wookie.
All right. Well, it's that whole thing with werewolves and vampires. That's all Hollywood.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. Wolves and vampires exist, but the whole feud thing, no.
So werewolves do exist.
Yes. Wolves.
Not,
sorry.
Don't use werewolves.
Sorry.
They don't like that.
Sorry,
It's
I have to publicly apologise now.
Can you just turn around while I just beat this man to death? Okay.
Let me apologise to all wolves out there, and.
You're going to go home and you're going to get some serious howling at your door, man. I tell you
I
right
know
now.
What do you mean
some
at my
there-
door from my bedroom?
I know they're some of the best people I know, they're just like us. They have their needs and their wants too, and what they got to do. I can't speak for them, but they.
Wow.
Although they do have a high
exist.
consumption of flea powder, though. That's.
But from what I understand, here we go with the Harley experience here in the middle of the city.
I kind of get the impression that they are literally just driving around the block.
I think they might be. I think that's the same bike we saw
It's
last
the
time.
exact same people.
I could just imagine the listeners now, especially the ones in the States, going, wait, you have a pancake manor in a church with Harley Davidsons driving around and you're doing an interview outside. Where are you?
Man, it's Australia, man. That's how we roll.
Everything's like Mad Max here.
Yeah,
So
that's it. Witness me.
And we just had the local mall cop walk past and check us out, and we're giving them the old salute, and that's fine. So that's all good.
yeah, we're good with the local mall cop.
No.
Yeah.
But the wolf sort of identity from the very, very little that I'm aware of, it's more of that understanding or that connection to that primal energy. Is that right?
Yeah.
More than I don't think from my recollection of it, it's any of that transformational stuff or anything like that. It's more of that sort of guttural, instinctual.
You would, I guess, have to interview a wolf to get a better perspective
I
on that side.
Yeah.
But look,
I'm just trying to repair some of the damage here that the Wookie's done.
But that's fine. That's look. There's so many different types I've met in my life. I've met many different walks of life, from Cairns, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide, New Orleans, New Zealand, Fiji, LA. There's so many different types, more than just vampires and wolves.
I really
you get into the fairy kin, and then you got like the other kin, and there's the reptilians, and then there's all kinds of crazy stuff.
We're going to need more tape, Wookie.
I love this stuff.
But
it's great.
It's really exciting stuff.
No, we were just talking about this before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take the king on a ghost hunt.
Hey,
would you like to come
down for that?
Yeah, I reckon that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I've done a few in my time.
Very good. Maybe we could learn a bit.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
That
would be really
every day
cool.
in every way. I'm learning so much more. Yeah.
Within our communities, in our courts, as the king, I'm sort of more of the spiritual guide, or the one that helps all the court members.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, I guess. This is something I want to make clear, is that I do a lot of work for my members.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the other way around. I don't sit on a golden throne and they do all this work for me. No, it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I do work for them to make sure that they have a place to prosper. So they have something that I didn't have when I was dealing with it at a young age. And I've done things. I help them with tarot card readings, which is something I do.
Oh, really?
And then
Wow.
And then I've also gone out on ghost busting hunts. So I actually get rid of spirits from places.
Wow.
And it's, as that, like, I'm also at this point in time, I am learning the craft of being a fangsmith, because in Australia, we can't just go just to America. Like, the ones I've got in my teeth now, these are 10 years old. These fangs that I have here are 10 years old.
Okay.
I can't just walk down the street and get them. So again, I'm providing a service for my court so that they have something here. It's a big task. It's they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's like, yeah, well, he's also very busy. I have this. I have my day job, and I write as well.
May I just ask, without any specifics, King, in terms of what you do, is there a specific field that you work in?
I'm working in many different fields right now, whether it be retail or office or any kind of that kind of background, data entry, programming. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Wookie, I'm hogging all the questions
here.
I'm
loving this. I'm loving this.
This is fascinating, this guy, I tell you. And look, just in terms of just going back on what we're talking about, clearing places of spirits, is there a different vampiric take on that as opposed to what you would have experienced with normal paranormal investigations and how they would go about that? Do you have a different take on that, or a different sort of?
To a point, yes. I guess it comes down to, for me, it's something that I can connect with my vampirism. It's something that I can use.
How so? Can you talk us through that a little bit more, please?
It's with the energy.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to. And, if you know how to feed from certain different ways, different styles, you can use it.
So when you walk in to clear a location, ghost busting, so to speak, you could actually feed on the spirits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. That's sort of like a Pac-Man thing.
Nom nom nom.
Where are those pellets at?
Oh, well, we tried to keep... Mrs. Wookie's here at the moment, listeners.
I guess, that's something that's come personally to me over time. That's, and that's just another, like, the many things that I do. I've had, I guess, with my core, this is another thing too, is that I have a very big esoteric background. And for those that don't know what that is, that's things such as the Golden Dawn, Freemasonry, things like that. And I have a big background in that. And I bring that forward into my vampire court. So things such as, for example, King is more so viewed, in my mind, like worshipful master of a lodge. It's, it's something that's, you have to earn that. And then when you get there, it's a lot of work to do. You're not just going to be sitting on your tush with some, peasants doing your work for you. No. You're going to be doing your work for the people.
Yeah.
Which is very different to today, where we have our, rulers of whatever land who have us at the bottom feeding, doing all their jobs, and they're gaining all the money from doing very little.
It's all about delegation.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's just so much to think about and process. I was trying to get my head around Golden Dawn. I don't think I've ever. Have you heard of that?
Heard of that?
Have you?
Yeah. Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Thank you.
No,
yes.
thank you for that, Mrs. Wookie.
So there's a reason why I brought her along.
Yes.
Say hello, Mrs. Wookie.
No.
Okay.
Oh, good. No, she's not. Mrs. Wookie's
She's
not
shy.
So can you explain that a little bit for us, please, King?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
All right. Well, the Golden Dawn and it's esotericism, and they're a group. Basically, you through a process. It's very similar to Freemasonry in many regards. You have your initiate degree. You have second degrees. You have other degrees that you go through, and each time you go through, you learn more and more of the mysteries. Yes. So.
Wow. Okay, but that's not relating to vampirism, though.
No.
Okay.
The reason for me personally why I went down those paths, I was searching for answers.
Yeah.
I was looking wherever I could. If it was not in a book, which I have a lot of, then I would go and find groups, and it might be a Wiccan group, it might be the Golden Dawn, it might be Freemasonry, it might be any of the attached degrees of Freemasonry, it might be anything that I, at the time, because I didn't have it here, I would go forward and go, I want knowledge. I need to know. I need to learn. And that's why, like, with my work, like I try to do as many different jobs as I can. I love to learn, and it's something that I think comes very much with vampirism, is that you over time learn more and more about the world and about yourself, and things stop being impossible and start being possible.
I think we get told a lot lately what's impossible. I think we need to focus a lot more on what's possible.
See, vampirism is about life. And that's where they lose that in translation in Hollywood. It's about being who you are, being all you can be. It's about being, doing something that's going to make you better the next day. Tackling challenges and overcoming them. It's not about skulking away in some crypt. It's about, what am I going to leave here when I go?
So what about the aging aspect that Hollywood's painted of vampires? Is that a reality, or?
Now, we have noticed, particularly within the vampire communities of the world, is one of the traits, again, not for everyone, but most, is that aging tends to slow down. This is not to say that we're immortal of any sort, but that we slow, like someone, if we're sitting next to someone like a generic Joe Blog human, we will go, okay, this person here might be 40, and they'll be sitting next to someone else that's 40. And you will go, wow, that's a big difference between, say, human A and vampire B. It's something that is a trend.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been reading a paper recently that indicated that from an energetic point of view, the person's own energy really has a lot to do with how a person ages, because it's got a lot to do with how the body functions. That's right. But that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, it's very similar to what the King's been talking about in terms of how they tap into energy and feed with energy and process energy. And
when you come across so many different sources from independent aspects, all coming to the same conclusion, that is a dead ringer indicator that there is something to it.
Absolutely. The concepts are pretty sound.
Yeah.
So Kingle Shadows, thank you very much for coming on to Spooky Action Radio this evening. It's been fun hosting our own interview here in the middle of the city, complete with sound effects and everything.
Sound effects from a bird.
At least we don't have to worry about copyright for sound effects because they're all around us.
Unless they copyrighted the bird.
Oh, maybe.
We'll have to check that one out.
Any last sentiment that you'd like to share on behalf of the court to our listeners? Any messages?
Again, I would like to thank all the vampires of New Orleans, the House of Law, King Maven Law, and Goddess Rosemary. And I would also like to thank my court, in particular, the Vampire Court of Brisbane and the House of Law of Australia. I'd also like to extend again to any of our listeners out there that if you believe you are a vampire and you are looking for answers, please come forward and leave us a message in the Vampire Court of Brisbane page, and we will be in touch with you.
We'll link that on our Facebook.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
King, it's been a pleasure. We were looking forward to this interview all week.
He's been giggling like a schoolboy.
I've been really just so
excellent,
pumped up to, it's been a real pleasure. And you're a bloody good bloke. So
thank you.
We'd love to chat to you again, and certainly come along on a couple of our adventures that
I will.
Wookie and I have been known to have from time to time.
Yeah. Road trip.
I can feel a road trip coming on.
I would love a road trip.
We'll have to put up screens on the windows or something.
Don't we do that anyway?
I'll wear a long sleeve shirt. I'll be fine.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
And remember, spooks, if you've got a spooky story to share, just look us up at Spooky Action Radio Show on Facebook.